Chapter 6, Boolean and Logical Comparison Operators. Hello everyone, and welcome to Chapter 6 lecture for the 5th edition of Browning's Introduction to Programming with Python. So, building what we reviewed from the last chapter, this chapter will examine logical operators in Boolean logic. If you recall, is named after George Boole. What we cover in this chapter can save you many lines of code by, among other things, compare the truth or falsity between several situations all in one statement. And also you recall that John von Neumann said that you could do conditional control structures to control a program. So we're kind of taking the theory and we're putting it in actual practice in this chapter. Some of the examples of these operators that you might use with checking for truth, comparing a password input to the actual stored password to allow or disallow entry, comparing to input values from a user. You could, on a GUI application, examine if radio buttons or checkboxes were selected or not, because they're going to either are or are not be selected, so there's a truth or a false situation that you're looking for. Examine the length of a string for a minimum number of characters. If you've ever created an account on maybe like an online site and it said you had to have an uppercase, a special character, and it had to be 8 characters or more, it's checking for that. If not, it clears the field out, brings your cursor back to it, and says please try again, password not valid. Or compare a user ID to a stored ID and also compare the password. So you have 2 challenges for the user to be able to get into a system. Alright, so Boolean data. And Booleans, remember, are a variable type. They're either true or false. 0 for false, any positive integer for true. A Boolean expression evaluates either to true or false. Some languages actually give you a true or a false back, and some give you a 1 or a 0. Kind of depends. In fact, the comparison operators check for a true or false condition depending on the programming language. Again, it could be true or false, or 1 or a 0. We talked about George Boole a little bit, but certainly he's interesting to look up. You might research him on the internet. So we're going to try the hands-on where we say print, and then we have keyword bool, and we give it a 1 for true, 0 for false. Then I also want you to try the challenge out as well. When you're completed with that, hit play, and we'll resume the lecture. All right, very good. So what you noticed is with the challenge that it's any positive integer is true, 0 is false. So you did a 3 and it still gave you a true. All right, that is common among programming languages. Let's see here, a quality operator, double equal signs. That one is really interesting. You don't want to get that confused. You want to definitely note that with some languages, Python is not one of them, but like C++, you can actually have a single equals with a comparison, and it'll actually perform assignment. It will set one side equal to the other, as opposed to checking for equality, is the left side equal to the right side. So double equals, we're going to say, is equality. We're checking, is it true that one side is the same as the other. Single equal sign, it's assignment. And again, in a language like C++, you could have a single equal sign with an if statement. And what would end up happening would be it would make it true because it would set one equal to the other, and of course that would be a true condition, so it would be true every time. It wouldn't be checking for equality. Alright, try out, if you would, from an interactive prompt, the example there. We have, say, 3 equals 3, that is true, so it should return a true. 7, is it double equals 5? No, it is not, so it should return a false. Now, let's try that out with the next example, assignment versus equality, and let's just see what happens. Hit play when you're completed with this next hands-on, assignment versus equality, and we will continue. Alrighty, so we will look now at some of the operators that you want to be familiar with, and these are similar to what you remember from good old math class. Greater than, less than, less than equal to, and greater than equal to. Alright, they work the same way. You can try these out from a script if you'd like, or from an interactive prompt. But basically it's checking for truth in a situation. It says, is it true that x is greater than 2. In fact, 3 is not greater than 2, so it should not print anything. And again, try those examples out and you'll see how they work. Hit play when you're completed. Very good. Now, let's do some combinatorial logic, and what we will actually have happen is that we could have two conditions that we're checking for. Say, for example, is it true that x is greater than 4, and is it also true that z is less than 10? If both sides were true, then the whole statement would be true. So this would be an example of an and. The or logic, one or both sides. This is a logical or now. We're going to see if there's a different type of or. But with a logical or, one or both sides could be true and the whole statement will be true. Try the hands-on activity with and or to see how that goes from a script, and then hit play, and then we'll look at logical not. Alright, logical not. Another interesting handy operator is the logical negation not. It's represented by bang equals, or the exclamation point equals, but you hear it referred to as a bang a lot of times. And it's the opposite. Is it not true that x is equal to 1? In other words, is x not equal to 1? Well, 3 is not equal to 1, and so that's a true statement. Try that out and then hit play, and then we will move on. Very good. So we have a summary of these logical operators, and again, they're very similar to what you're used to in math. Nothing new there. Bottom of the page. What I'd like you to do at this point is try the rest of the examples that you see, and then you have activities at the end of the chapter. Try the activities at the end of the chapter, and recall again when you're looking at the fast food order entry program that Python does auto type variables. So if you give it a more precise, $ amount, 2.00 for example, as opposed to 2, it's going to promote everything to a floating point, and you won't lose the precision that you were after. Take care, and we will see you for the next chapter. Have a nice day.